Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Yes, we've taken a week's break, but we are now back. We moved from the Derby to the Laurels. There's no rest in the classic action. As you can see, I'm joined by the two Cork Supremos. We have the exiled one, Tommy Lyons, and of course, our man on the ground at Curraheen, Barry Drake. Loads to look back on from the opening round of the Bar 1 Racing Irish Laurels down at Curraheen Park. Some stunning performances, some not so stunning performances, a couple of shocks. All in all, though, plenty of quality. Barry Drake, I know you were there on Saturday night. Decent crowd, good start to the Classic.
Yeah, absolutely. An exciting time of the year, something we look forward to. And as you said, great crowd in attendance there on Saturday night. Fantastic atmosphere. Two sub 28-second winning performances, one or two nice local winners as well. So the opening round had it all in.
You always throws in the local winners, Tommy, but it's very important down at Curraheen Park. You're quite tribal down there. You love to see one of your own doing well. There are a few talented ones around the Cork scene at present that you can just tell by them the other night that their track experience is going to play a big part in proceedings. But the two stars were certainly the two dogs that went under 28 seconds. I'll be honest, when I was watching Ballymac Satanta back, I thought I was looking at the wrong video. I was going, there's no way this dog is after doing 27.94 after three strides. I'm going, I'm not sure he's going to qualify. Bursting through the gap, finds himself a lovely seam around the opening two bends, shows unbelievable pace down the back straight, leaving the maiden Derby champion in his wake and runs out at 27.94 winner. I thought it was a look at me performance. This is what you're going to see from me going forward.
Yeah, I hope so. I was chatting to somebody who, one of the lads whose opinion I respect, and we were just chatting beforehand, and we're saying that, you know, if there was one dog that both of us came up to, if we'd backed before the start of the competition, we were chatting there, looking at the prices in front of us on in Curraheen on Saturday night, and they were saying that Ballymax and Tanta was the one, but just that the price was a little bit, was probably right, if you know what I mean, around about 14, 16 to 1. I mean, I had thought that if I had been 25 to 1, I'd have taken a chance. Like there's still question marks, obviously.
Had he not done the trial, he would have been 20 25 to 1.
Yeah, yeah, and I see. I didn't need the trial. It didn't work for me from a punting point of view because what I saw in that sprint final when he was it final or was it Derby final? Sorry, he he showed massive pace up to the bend in a top sprint, and only that he could have crossed at the bend. And
Mm.
he lost his momentum and he lost everything. He lost the race basically. And actually, that was the one that was the performance that made me stand up and go, "Oh my God, this is a proper greyhound." Um, the question mark obviously being, can he do it 5 weeks in a row at the very top level? Because he's had three 5.25s up to this, and they were all in A3 company, and he won them handy, one further than the other, and whatever else. So he was the one of the dogs with the big question mark of potential. He had potential to be absolutely anti. You did say at the start, Darren, that they're quite tribal in Cork and like local winners. I like a local winner now and then,
Mm.
but I think and when it's a local winner, if it's a top class greyhound, a truly top class greyhound, brilliant. That's the absolute ideal. You don't. It doesn't need to be a top class winner to be a great Laurels if it's a local winner. But if it's not going to be a local winner, you want it to be something a bit special. If it's going to be something a bit special, you've got the likes of Droopy's Patriot there. I actually did argue. I was chatting with Daniel O'Reilly actually Saturday night, and we were just chatting about how both of us agreed that we thought that the overall quality of the Laurels, you like, is there a superstar in it? Potentially, yes. So that's a box tick. But are there quite a few really, really, really good greyhounds in it? There are. I think there are more than in previous recent years, numbers wise. In the past, you might say there's three or four greyhounds that can win it. If they win it, it's a great Laurels because they're top class greyhounds. And if they don't, we want a local winner, and it's great. But actually, I think you could probably count maybe 8, 9, 10 greyhounds that are in that kind of level for this renewal of it. So it's great. I actually really enjoyed the race on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's going to get very competitive very quickly, Barry. We saw this on Saturday night that it is a track where you don't want to be on the outside of a dog moving off, or you don't want to be on the inside of a dog moving in because the room for error into that opening corner in Cork, it's there. Like this is the razor sharp classic. Like this is the one classic of the year, the four bend classic of the year, where you need to be absolutely paw perfect through the prelims, or you'll find yourself gone. Like there's no room for error whatsoever at Curraheen Park, just given the fact that it's such a speed test.
Yeah, definitely. Look, if you look back through The winners in particular over the course of maybe the last 6 or 7 years, they're all grounds that are full of early speed. So it certainly is an important asset or weapon down here in Cork. So as you said, look, you have to move to the bend well, and we've got plenty of flying early pacers in this year's classic. So it's going to be a fantastic event over the course of the next couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, what I thought was notable with the 220, two sub 28-second winners, Drubby's Patriot and Ballymaxatanta. Yeah, Ballymaxatanta didn't take a flying start, but he still managed to post the 16 seconds to the third bend. You look back to last year and you see the likes of Broadstrand Sid doing a 15.66, and you see Bucco's Diamond doing a 15.71. It just goes to show like what can be done to that third bend. Now, I've no doubt that Patriot probably can do a bit quicker. It was down as a very quick away on the card. I didn't think it was a very quick away. It was a good start, an all right start. He showed great early speed into the corner. He had to unanimously. Leo was right there with him. But I think there's more room for improvement for him at boxes, and there certainly is with Ballymaxatanta. It'd be no surprise to see him doing it at 15.80 next week. And if he does, well, just given his rate of improvement, the fact that he's only a January 24, I just love the way Liam is. He's not shy about campaigning. Like, this fella's had a tough campaign already. Like, he was thrown in at the deep end in the Irish Sprint Cup. He runs at Limerick then in the 8-3 stake, and that was where he really just got his grounding, found his feet, and then straight back into open top class company in that sprint competition that finished in Derby final night. Now all of a sudden he's back into a Laurels, and he looked like a dog that'd be well and truly able to handle it. But he's going to need to be able to trap. Now, that was only his second start out of the boxes, or the second time in the box at Corrine. So I think there's better to come from him at the start. But Tommy, if you were looking at going, what's going to be favourite from next week? Are we talking the big two, Drubby's Patriot and Ballymaxatanta, in terms of the two that did the clocks?
There are no prices there at the moment. No, I'd say, like, I argued on Saturday night that Solon go with too short, 7-1, 8-1 to win the competition. But he negotiated around, albeit luckily. But actually, I came away with it thinking, you know what? He'd have won that heat handy had he not stumbled about 20 yards from the traps. It's a slight stumble, and it's enough to check his momentum, because he didn't come out of traps, and he was just beginning to engage. You could see it in him. He was engaging what is a deeply impressive turn of pace. He was engaging that and stumbled, and then had to re-engage it, got all sorts of trouble. He goes off the camera at the first bend, and you think he's out of the competition, and the next thing he's in fourth place down the back, or they're coming down to the third bend, and you're going, well, thanks be to God, he managed to get into a qualifying position. So
he was fifth down into the third and went sort of fourth on
the
third.
He's like, when I saw him coming back into the camera and gone, he's in fourth place now, off turning the last bend and coming into the straight, and I was going, I don't think I was wrong about him being too short at 7-1, but before the start of a 5-run competition, because his problem is, I said, I know what he can do. I know what he can do. I know ability wise, he's in that group of Hinchley, absolutely top drawer. But I don't know yet that I trust him enough to back him at 7-1 to win a 5-run competition, which requires you, as you just said a minute ago about Currahee Park, to come out every week, to break every week, to get your position every week. Can he do it 5 days in a row, 5 nights in a row without missing and getting loads of trouble? If you want to do it, if you want to make a mistake, and the stumble is nothing you can do about it. It's just one of those things. If it's going to happen, you really want it to happen in the first round, because that was the only round he would have got away with, apart from the obvious fact that he finished fourth. And if he finishes fourth next week, he's out. But if you're going to make a mistake, this is the one to do it in. I came away with more respect from him, and again, just because I saw in those 20 yards that acceleration was there, I was going, I was watching, oh my God, he's going to blow these away into the bend. Yeah. He'd have won that heat handy. Absolutely.
He was edging inwards, which was probably his own fault.
But he was far. He was drawing 5. Drawing 5. I mean, that was a concern too. I spoke to one of the bookmakers, runners there before the race, and I was saying, like, we're chatting, saying you'll have to lay him. Take a chance. You have to take a chance. And if he wins by half the track, so what? That's the way we were talking about. If he wins by half the track, you just pay out and you move on. But from the draw, and from the fact that you don't know that he's not yet in that category where I can say absolutely he will do this. He will break and he will go to the bend. I know he'll go to the bend every night, but will he break every night? I don't know yet. If he does turn into that type of dog, he's an English Derby dog for next year, an Irish Derby dog for next year, because we talked about the extra 25 yards, the Irish Derby particularly not being a concern, especially as he matures. But he's got to show that he can do it every week. And I came away more positive about him, not regretting that I would never have backed him sevens or eights, and I still don't think it would have been the right thing to do. But I came more positive away with Solon Go. So he's in there amongst Droopy's Patriot. We have to remember Droopy's Patriot did a huge run the Derby, first round of the Derby, and I thought, well, this is a Derby contender. And obviously he wasn't right in the second round. That's unfortunate. If he's the dog that we talked about previously, he's an obvious contender. But I tell you what, had unanimous Leo been drawn inside him, obviously he can't with the seeding. I think
He's running up again.
unanimous Leo led him out of boxes. Like you said, it wasn't a very fast away from Droopy's Patriot at all. Unanimous Leo
I
broke
thought
broke in
unanimously
front.
was actually quicker away.
Yeah, he was. He was in front.
Yeah,
He was a neck to half a length in front, definitely. And if you swap the boxes, unanimous Leo goes around in front and probably wins the race because he's only beaten about three. Droopy's Patriot
yeah.
stayed little bit better than him to the line. But I thought at first, did unanimous Leo fade away? And then looked at the replay again. And I was like, not as much as I thought he had. So I like that performance, and I think unanimous Leo is the perfect candidate to improve markedly with each run. So he's a player as well. I mean, you can add him to it, and obviously Ballymax Satanta. I mean, he doesn't break. He doesn't really trap. And we talked about it beforehand, and we had a fella arguing with Barry and myself saying that thought that the dog didn't have the early pace because the sections in Limerick would suggest he didn't have the early pace. But like I was saying, that's not his pace. His pace is that explosive bit into the bend, Ballymax
Yeah.
Santanta. And like as you said, Ian, a maiden Derby winner, what he did to him, what he did to that dog from the line the first time to coming out of the second bend was insane. It really was. And the track, there was a little bit of luck involved in the tracking because it was there wasn't an awful lot of space along the inside. Showed a brave dog. Showed Ballymax Santanta is a brave dog as well as having ability. So it's early days, but my God, it looks like a good Laurels already.
Yeah, it's one of those where just as it gets more and more concentrated, it's going to get very tight very quickly. And that's what you want in Curraheen. That's what you want in the classics. We'll start from the start. Barry, setting the tone in the opening round was Lamrock Ace. He's a dog that's been running in good company at Shelburne, finding his feet. He's a dog that sort of probably arrived up to Shelburne not fully in AAO company, and all of a sudden he's developed it. He shows good pace down the back straight, can go up strong. He's not the strongest finisher. Now 28.63. I was surprised that the time was as slow as that. I was surprised by the first two races actually that the time were as slow as they were. Although Magical Keith did sort of cause his own problems in the second heat, but Lamrock Gay showed loads of pace down the back straight. Like Fate Point Harvey, you can set your watch by him. He sets the pace, but just couldn't match Lamrock Ace down at the third bend.
Yeah, exactly. Look, as you said, look, no fireworks here on the clock, but Ballyhimick and Rio, of course, was sent on a favourite. He hasn't been, I suppose, the same dog really since he was nearly going around in front in the first round of the Boyd Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. But yeah, Lamrock Star, or Lamrock Ace, I should say, of course, trained by Carl Ramsbottom for the Nash family, pulled out all the stops there in the second half of the race, and stuck to his task well. I think he's capable of a better start, and he could be a greyhound that'll go quicker maybe next week. But yeah, 28.63 winning performance, a good run. But I'm sure they'll have to improve a lot there if they're going to be in the mix later on in the competition.
Yeah, Ballyhimick and Rio was in track one, and as a result, sent off favourite. That seems to be the trend through. That always seems to be the trend at Curraheen Park. If you look at the trap ones through the competition, through the opening round in particular, like there are dogs there. If they were drawn anywhere off the rail, they'd have been 10, 12, 14 to 1. But the fact of the matter, they were in one, they were going off a third of that price or a quarter of that price. There was only two trap one winners on the night, and I just suspect that when it does get to the better company arriving onto Curraheen, the trap one isn't quite as important. Like there were about 5 or 6 winners from trap four. And maybe that's a case of a few dogs new to the track and just the scrimmaging happening on the inside, and dogs from the middle are tend to get that little bit more run early. But is it an angle going forward that maybe the inside boxes are always a fraction too short?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you have, I suppose, kind of a half fancied one in there. It'll always be, shorter than it is. I suppose, look, bookmakers are always very cautious with trap number one. Obviously, they've often got burnt there if, as I said, a well fancied one is in trap number one. So that's always the case in Curraheen Park, and I'm sure that'll continue going forward.
Yeah, Tommy, I assume you with your punting hat on would be of the similar ilk. You'll go, that's in trap one. They'll make that a crazy short price. There will be value elsewhere.
Yeah, probably would, but I thought I don't get too many things right, but I thought this was a match between 6 and 2. But actually, I take no credit out of this because Lamrock Ace and Barefoot Fire. I take no credit because this race was all about the charging of traps.
Yeah, I was going to say something charged traps about it.
That's why the
It
clock
was
is like
about
it is.
2.5 seconds before the box opened, so it wasn't
And
immediate.
some of them hit it really hard. I mean, their
Yeah,
backs are up the traps if you look at it closely. Like it's I wouldn't read too much into it. And if a dog disappoints in that one, like you can the impact of charging can be different in each dog. So it was a good doughty performance from Lamrock A. Stuck to the task well, I
yeah.
thought. But I would go back if you're in heats. I'd go back to these greyhounds on their previous form. If you're going to factor in for next week, don't worry about that one there.
Yeah, I give Lamrock a big life as well. You see the 203, 207 in Shelburne, then 337 in Curraheen. Like he should be doing late 320s and with the potential to go maybe the length faster on a night. So yeah, I agree with you. Back in third, drive on Petsy, Faithpun Harvey faded out of contention, but did finish fourth and was fourth to qualify, gentlemen, wasn't it? And it was their fastest
Yeah,
fifth as well. Yeah, there had
yeah,
to be,
yeah,
of course, there was only 11 heats. We
yeah.
move on to the second heat. Magical Keith, and I wouldn't mind avoiding this fella if I was a trap two runner. I wouldn't like to see him in red too often. If certainly if I was one of the inside seats on his outside, it was a case of right turn Clive in the early yards, and it wasn't that noted, but it was enough, and he just kept going. Like even on the opening corner, he ran off as well. I suppose much of that comes down to the lack of track knowledge and whatnot, but. I'll tell you what he does have. He's a winning attitude and he showed good determination to get to the front, even though he was sort of taking those few bumps early. It was curtains for great morning from the start. Like he had no chance. Just the door was closed, colours are green, found himself squeezed in the early stages. He does turn second, but finds a couple of strong runners in behind him. Much better will come from colours are green when he finds a
Ah, there
start
was
and
a
finds a bit of space.
Well, there's agreement as a
reserve.
reserve in there.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. So, beg your pardon. That's indication that I was away and the head isn't quite running. Microchip was in there, of course. You should be checking that. Behind them or behind the leader, Magic Keith Moorestown Knight ran on really strongly. He knows his way around there. He's had a couple of races there recently and made to measure. He's often been a bit of an eye catcher. He's very fast. I don't know if he's sharp enough, but he has a big engine. He's definitely one for next year. But Tommy, Magical Keith, just what you needed, and one of the two inside winners from Trap One, 4-7, and justified it, although perhaps a little bit sweaty at times.
Yeah, I would come away looking at his profile. You'd say, look, he's only had his one trial in a little over a month, and he's entitled to improve a bit. He hasn't had a huge amount of racing. He's what is he? He's September 23. Hadn't had a huge amount of racing. What's that? 11. That was his 11th run, I think. He's looking look at his form. He's fourth, not beaten far behind unanimously. Always he beats Drewby's Deploy. He over 550. He's second behind Magical Sapphire. He's second behind Sword Style. It all points to one thing that he's very very good. Maybe not classic winning level, but he's very very good and he can improve. So I would just let's not rule it out just yet. But it was an ideal makeup in exactly what you said, Ian. He was going to move off, and because he's the early pace, he was that moving off was going to protect his position. As long as he
Yeah,
didn't, as long as he didn't get entangled with something else, he was going to protect his position early, and that's exactly what it did. And he is tough. He does, he only won a length, and people are going, "Oh, he only won a length." I think he's going to step forward, fitness wise, for the run. Whether he win a Laurels, I don't know. But as you said, he's a dangerous dog in any of the heats because he has that early pace. And if he's in one, I'm not sure where he is next week actually. If he's
he's
in
in
one,
one.
you kind of keep an eye
He
out
is
for
in
him.
one. So you pay attention to that. Barry, I'm conscious that we only have you for another 15 minutes or so. We'll move on unless you have anything to add there.
Yeah, just I actually spoke with the young lad that's parading the dogs there, helping out with the Patrick Guilfoyle kennels, Jaden Loughlane, and he actually said just what Tommy touched on there. They hadn't the whole pile done with him over the course of the last couple of weeks, so much more to come. And I unfortunately the interview with Jaden didn't work, so if he's watching this. That's why it's not up in the Curraheen Park page. But great to see young lads and like Jaden involved in such a big and powerful kennel, and he's going to pick up so much valuable experience for himself that will certainly stand him in good stead in this great sport for years to come. So yeah, great stuff there, and yeah, got the job done anyway in the end.
Yeah, certainly did. Barry, no video for the 13th, so I haven't actually seen it. I was away at the weekend, hence the voice. Lemon Herbie, fast away, always led. Is that an accurate description of what went down? Obviously, Lindy's Desire and Dear Me both took a tumble. Lindy's Desire, it's a case of back to the drawing board. I don't know what to do with him if I was their connections, but Lemon Herbie, he's a dog with decent form around Kilkenny, and it's one of those tracks where Kilkenny form probably does stack up at Cork because you have to be able to get into that opening corner. You know, it's quite similar in terms of it can get tight into the bend, and just a dog with a little bit of experience and obviously a bit of early speed that certainly helps.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Lenny's Desire was sent off a short price favourite. He looked a real, I suppose, there, 4 or 5 weeks ago. He clocked 28.01 around Curraheen Park. And, he stumbled badly there coming out of traps, lost absolutely all chance. And in fairness to Leben Herbie, Greyhound that's been in good form, as you said, around Kilkenny in recent times, took full advantage, enjoyed the inside line, lovely early pace, and really took control of the race early on, and it was a really good run, 28.31 for trainer Murtlehy. Yeah, a lot to like about that performance, and getting the job done there in good style.
And Dad, Tom.
Now, tougher heat next week. I did speak Paul Hennessy after that heat actually, and he just said, unfortunately, it can happen at times. Things have just gone wrong for Lane's Desire
Mm,
in
yeah.
races, and it's a confidence thing now with the Greyhound. It's a confidence thing.
Yeah, I think it is. The ability is there. Like he's obviously a track record holder at Toaster. He has some stunning runs in his card. He's an immensely fast greyhound, so he is a one we'll be keeping an eye on going forward. Now on to Heat 4. Tommy Born Braver. I've written down the card. Led before one plus rest straight forward. I think there's a good description of what happened. He's a nice dog. He does his 28.33 run for Jennifer O'Donnell. I'm sure there's better to come from him. Obviously, he's the 28.11 trial, but from a first round point of view, it's all you could ask for.
Yeah, as I was saying, like this is what your a fella said years ago. Your nap should be the worst, the best dog in the worst race, or the best horse in the worst race. And this to me was the weeks of the heats, and this was the bet of the night. Born Braver, he has that ability. Is he showing it every night? Is he giving it to us every single night? Not sure. I even thought that when he was clear up the straight. Somebody suggested to me that he's a pure middle pace dog, and that he doesn't have it early and he doesn't have it late. I don't know. I'd say he'd stay. I'd say he'd stay plenty. I don't think that's the problem. I think he does enough. He does enough. I do think definitely, like you said, Ian, there's more improvement in the dog. I think he's the type of dog. Even if he does not in front, he can qualify. He can keep qualifying through the competition. Will he win it? Probably not. But I tell you, it was a good night for the O'Donnells. Actually, all the dogs ran well. Even the ones that didn't win, they ran very well.
They have a nice little kennel. They have some really fast
Mm.
dogs, really strong bitches. Just they have a lot of good ones
I
there
think I
knocking
think
around them.
think anybody who watches this knows my opinion on it now over the last few years. I just really like the way they keep us. The numbers are kind of small, but the way they're done is really, really impressive.
Yeah, it's not off the ground. Jennifer licked it, as you know
Oh,
yourself.
no.
Obviously, Francis is there, and I don't knock the influence of John as well. Like the bitch on Derby final night, they went for pound shillings and pence. John knows the time of day. You know what I mean? So it's a good outfit. Barry, obviously, the Tapper Flynn is in behind him, so like you certainly had your marker. Like you know this fella inside out, so you can gauge what's happening here in front. The fact that he sort of dispatched of the Tapper Flynn as comfortably as he did tells its own story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just laughing there to myself because I think you put Burnt from farm in 3 or 4 to 1 at the top of the card derby final night. Um,
Yeah, I tell you what, that was quickly scoffed at from various quarters. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
what.
absolutely. No, yeah, look, the penalty kick that night. In terms of Born Bravery, yeah, Tommy was very, very strong on that. So, we took a bit of the 4 to 5 that was available. So I might be able to buy a new shirt there for next Saturday night, on the winnings there. But yeah, look,
Do
great
me a favor, will
performance.
you? Will you buy Barry Call one as well? Will you?
Oh,
Uh,
lad, he's in a different league to me now with his fancy shirts. But yeah, the Dapper Flynn ran a big race as well in second for trainer Pat Kiley. Often finishes with a flourish and broke well there, but yeah, ran a cracker in defeat. But yeah, it was all about Born Braver.
we don't have to discuss too much about Heat 5 because obviously we've said what we need to say. Drewby's Patriot came away with unanimously or probably fractionally in front early, but with the line, given the draw, they were it was always going to go around 4 and 5, and that's exactly what happened. Magical on Fire stayed on well. Pretty notable that Check for Cash did qualify in fourth spot. I could only imagine he'll come on for the look around the place. We know how capable he can be. Is he?
Mhm.
You all right, Tom?
So yeah, no, sorry, okay.
Check for Cash was back in fourth, and he will definitely go faster. He missed the kick somewhat the other evening. Never really got involved. Found a bit of traffic in the corner, but it was all about the front two. Tommy Druby's Patriot unanimous, Leo.
Yeah, I don't know how was wrong with earlier on. I was talking about unanimously. I think he was seated middle for some reason. He's
Yeah,
not. He's not, and I think to be honest about it, he's to me he came away in my estimation as a proper player in the competition. His only issue, of course, is that himself and Druby's Patriot are in the same heat next week, and they're in traps 1 and 3. He's in 3. Druby's Patriot's in 1. Patriot was impressive. Patriot was impressive. Like Patriot is a proper greyhound, and if he can maintain his form for the 5 rounds of this competition, he's probably the one to beat. Is there a bit more explosive early pace in the competition, Ian? Maybe.
maybe. I think Patriot is more early speed than he showed the other night.
Yeah, no, I think Patriots speed is even. It's not
Mm,
acceleration. I think there's explosive early pace in there. Like you, the likes of Ballymax Tanta, obviously. Who lead into the first bend in the two dog race? Patriot or Satanta? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Patriot will be
whatever's on the
out of traps in
inside,
front.
whatever's on the
Hmm?
inside off a level start. That's the way I see it. I don't think there's an awful lot in
Well,
between.
well, well. The problem is Patriot's going to be out in front, out
Yeah,
of traps nearly every night. And well, that might just be enough to get you around in front. If you're backing one of them at prices that they're likely to be after the first round, you'd probably back Patriot because you think
yeah.
he'll probably get the clear runs each
I
time.
suppose
But
the argument would be there now, and it doesn't equate. It's different tracks, different trips, and whatnot. But if they'd met in Dundalk earlier in the year, Patriot would have been 4 to 6, and Satanta would have been tens. Like
yeah, but
so,
for, but yeah, but Patriot was more established greyhound, and
yeah,
Satanta's kind of Satanta. I sometimes I worry when the dog is campaigned as a sprinter early on, right? Um, and you think, oh, they must doubt that this dog will stay. But some trainers are extremely clever,
yeah.
obviously, and will build them up, young dogs up properly, and give them a bit of time, give them chances in sprint. But this dog didn't hang around in bad sprints. Now this dog hung around in the top sprints,
No, no,
and
no.
then it was like it's great campaigning to go to the 3 run stake in Limerick for Ballymax say and do what he did. So I think he's like. I think I'm Barry will have to tell me this because he's encouraging an awful lot more than I am. But this explosive early pace is what you want to win a Laurels, isn't it? And I think that, but if you're not going to break, is it going to leave you in trouble? Rugby's Patriot is going to break every night, I think. And I just hope he can do because I thought after the first round of the Derby, he can win the Derby. I think after the first round of the Laurels, he can win the Laurels. But I don't know that I want to back him now because after what happened in the Derby,
I
I
think
don't
the
know where
early
I stand.
speed. I think the early speed you need in the Laurels is different to what you need in Shelburne Park 550. Because in Shelburne Park 550, at least there's probably going to be 2 or 3 dogs that aren't going to fly out and show immediate acceleration. But that gives those dogs with the pace into the corner to get room to race and whatnot. I think in Curryheen, you need to be able to hit the ground running and get racing quickly and then maintain it into the corner. Because if you don't, there are 4 dogs, 5 dogs around you that are all capable of doing a 330 or better and have good early speed. They're proper 525 yard greyhounds. So all of a sudden, those gaps can close because it's less staggered into the bend. Like we've always said about the Laurels in the last few years, oh, that's the strong runner. That's the one that's going to keep going through the competition, picking up the pieces. There aren't too many of them in this one. Like bar like the bitch the bitch, the 750 yard bitch, and a couple of others that are going to stay on really strongly. It's more of an early pace Laurels perhaps than it has been over the last 5 years.
And this might be a pickup. This might be a pickup from I know there aren't a lot of them, but I absolutely love the sprint in Dundalk. I think the last few years it has just stepped up so much, and I think the greyhounds that are graduating from there and from that sort of campaign are excelling as we go on. And obviously, maybe it's partly down to the fact that the 550 doesn't seem to take as much getting anymore. Um, I love that side of things. I really do. I think the Laurels is benefiting from it too. Druby's Patriot is a proper greyhound. I mean, I'd say I'm watched that heat quite a few times, and I thought maybe he swapped the boxes unanimously. It goes round in front. He probably does, and Druby's Patriot has to work harder. But I see enough in the first 25 yards. I think Druby's Patriot can find extra there.
Yeah, I think he can. The one issue with him is it's how he recovers from his races. That's been a bit of
Yes,
an issue. The
yes.
525 at Curling Park is not, for all that Shelburne Park is much more of a speed test nowadays. It won't be as testing on his body as the 550 at Shelburne Park.
Well, did say this is something I always remember because I have a lot of respect for Liam Cashman. Liam Cashman said to me, and it must, I haven't spoken to the man in years and years and years. And he used to have great conversations around Laurel's time. And he did say the one thing about Curraheen Park, he said to me, I never forgot it. He said, there's no relenting. You're almost on the turn all the way. There's no relenting. There's no kind of straight and kind of no long straight. We talk about the 600 in Shelburne and there's three long straights. No long straight. It's unrelenting. It does take a bit out. It is unrelenting. It does take a bit to win at Laurels, and it will leave a mark. It will leave a mark to some. You'll have to be the type of dog that can recover, a proper athlete to go and win the Laurels.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out he won that four round competition down at Clonmel. Like, tough as well. Like, Clonmel's a really tough spin, that unrace stake earlier in the year. Or wasn't it Clonmel?
It was.
Wasn't
It,
he?
it was
Tralee.
kind of.
Might have been Tralee, was he?
He
Or
he won
Tralee.
the
Well,
juvenile. He
Holland.
won the juvenile
He was
class
Yeah,
in
Tralee.
juveniles
Tralee.
last
Yeah.
year.
He was classic in
Yeah,
Tralee. Oh
he
God,
brought
it's been a hard
very
weekend,
joke.
lads. Barry, anything to add on that heat before we move on?
No, I think he summed it up perfectly. Massive respect for both of them, and just in terms of Droopy's Patriot, good chat with Robert Gleason after, and obviously, look, you've been speaking about the dog. I know you were blown away with him in the first round in the Derby on this podcast, but he holds him obviously in the very very highest regard, and I'm very very happy with him at the moment. So it was great to see him back to winning ways after kind of one or two disappointing displays. So yeah, great run.
Yeah, big time. You said it there. It was just great to see him back to winning ways. It makes a big difference. There's a bit of confidence there now. You know what I mean? Obviously, we'll get an update on him over the space of the week with Robert. And yeah, given the fact
Like,
he's not won the next night, I suggest he won't be even money. You know?
yeah, but I like. I mean, if you were a bookmaker, if I was standing there Saturday night, I would have been taking them on just
Mhm.
because. Well, apart from the fact it was a good heat, I'd have been taking them on just on the basis of what had happened. But like you let them prove it to you. Great to see him back proving it. Great.
Yeah, no question about it. We move on to Heat 6, and this went the other way. The other way. It went the way of the other Mel, who got the better of Gord Kelly John. Let's be honest. It wasn't the hottest of. It wasn't the hottest of heats. Bush Park Mel is a non-runner again. Uh, they think of the world of this one, and they rightly do. She's had little niggles, and I think they were supposed to run her in the Oaks in England, and or the Empress Stakes in England, and she picked up a small problem, and clearly she's just not fully right, so they pulled her out. She was replaced by Soul Focus, and that left what was, like they went 5-2 to field effectively. Well, Headley's Trump was the 2-1 favorite, the Lee Strand winner from Trap 3, but Gort Kelly John went up fast on the inside. He was at a bigger price. But in the end, the other Mel, she looked a real bright prospect down at Waterford. Barry, you would have seen her, you would have reported on her. And Lone Calling, another very talented one, won that little competition. But the other Mel flew in the semi final. She's from a very good litter. This litter won the Romford Puppy Cup. One of them did, beating Magical Luca. So, like, there's a bit of talent there. And this is another one for Jennifer O'Donnell that's clearly worth keeping an eye on going forward. She's very much one for next year. I don't think she'll be winning a Laurels, but I like the way she went about it. She showed real determination that opening corner, and she just put her head down when the gaps arrived.
Absolutely, yeah. I thought she tracked, for a one with so little experience. The youngster, I thought she tracked beautifully around the opening two corners, and stuck on Gamely there in the closing stages because Garth Kelly John, wasn't going away. But as you said, definitely an exciting start. One for next year. I thought it was taking a chance there, putting her into the large with so little experience, but they were certainly rewarded there on Saturday night with a fine winning performance. And she's one that'll definitely progress going forward. So yeah, I thought it was a great decision from Jennifer O'Donnell to put her in the Laurels. And as I said, she's off the mark there now with a great winning performance in the opening round.
Yeah, Tommy, she has a 28:07 trial around Curryheen Park, but it was more the fact that she's taking on sort of seasoned campaigners. It was a big step up in company, and she handled it perfectly. But again, she's definitely one for next year.
I fancied her quite strongly in that heat because of her three runs, her trial, her potential, and the fact that thought she was maybe the class act in it, or potentially the class act in it. She doesn't want to be out in four.
No.
She wants to be in a little
She's
bit
out there
closer.
again. She's out there again the next
Yeah,
night. Mm.
yeah, but it's not that bad a heat. It's
Yeah.
not that. I know you have a Derby finalist in it, and whatever else you have. But it's not that bad a heat, and I think she might get away with it. I think she has great pace. I actually stood beside John Mitchell watching this race, and I just turned to him at the first bet and said, "She wins now." And he just looked at me. He looks and he goes, "She's second. Yeah, she wins now." And we just when she was able to position herself there,
Yeah.
it was all over. It was actually a lovely display from a very young bitch. I would think she probably won't win the Laurels, but I wouldn't fall down if she did. I think she's going to improve mightily from it. Yeah, I don't. You're going to worry if she's drawn off the fence a little bit. I would like to see her in one or two, and just to see what she's really capable of. But the 2807 trial, I'd say there's 20 greyhounds in that Laurels, 25 greyhounds in that Laurels could do that in a trial.
Yeah, yeah. We're putting you. We'll move on to the next heat. It went the way of Ballymac Brandon. I was really impressed by this. I thought he'd go faster in his trial, 28:41. He does 28:31 on this occasion, but he's edging in. He takes a couple of bumps. He leads before the corner, and the rest of the way he does a 16:10. I was I just wouldn't be surprised if this if this fellow went further than any of Liam Dowling's in the competition. I think he could be anything. I think he's really really exciting. Tommy,
Because I thought the Ballymac, sorry, I thought Satanta was faster than it was the faster dog. From the sprints, from looking at the sprints and looking at how he was developing, he was coming forward. But I really like this display too, really did, because it got a bit of a
yeah,
bump early and had to show pace into the bend. And you're thinking he's probably vulnerable. Then you have Lemon Joe, who's a really good dog. Going down to challenge on the inside. Yeah, I got tight and he got forced to check and was probably a little bit unlucky. But Ballymac Brandon stuck his head out, and like the time wasn't bad considering all that had kind of gone wrong with him. I mean, I think he's going to break better than Satanta a lot of nights. Not every night, a lot of nights. He's going to be more reliable. Maybe Satanta can develop that, particularly over 5.25. But just nothing wrong with it. Not a bad little litter. Remember Ballymac Art when she was
she was a little dinger. She was a little
a
fast
dinger.
start. Yeah,
Absolute dinger. She was one we were doubting stayed, and that's why we there for a while. They were doubting does she barely get home, and if she gets any bit of trouble earlier, she doesn't break in
I
front,
think she
she's in
spent
trouble.
most of her career. It's good. It's a good winner for. It's a good night for Ballymac Kingdom. Obviously, he was a very very talented greyhound on the track, and he's thrown some nice pups. But these are the first sort of ones where you know what I mean? Oh,
Pretty,
and I'm hearing good reports about some other ones as well. So be interesting to see
yeah.
how Ballymac Brandon goes on. In behind him, Lemon Joey, he runs his race. He just couldn't get around Ballymac Brandon on the opening corner, and thereafter he's a little bit unlucky. Like if he gets to at the third bend, he probably does win. As it is, he's only beaten. Was he beaten a half length? He's beaten only a neck. Like he loses certainly more than a length at that third bend. Hard not to be impressed by the winner, Barry.
Yeah, I think we were all mightily impressed with Ballymac Brandon, because I thought, to be honest with you, as they approached the third bend when Lemon Joey was getting up the inside of it, I thought Lemon Joey was going to go on and win the race. But in fairness to Ballymac Brendan, like he wasn't giving up in front, and it was a real determined performance. And as you said, definitely more to come. And as you said, such a fantastic winner. Yeah, I want to watch definitely going forward in the competition.
Yeah, he is one of those dogs where like it's either lead or bust with him. You know what I mean? Like he's either on the bunny or you're in a spot of bother. But I'll tell you something. I just love the way he ran into the opening corner. As we said, he's been edging in, took those few bumps. Now he's a tough draw the next night. Like there's no
He's a
question.
decent heat now as well. You have to take
It's a
that into
decent
account as
heat,
well.
but but
Yeah,
but in terms of what I'm saying, like Fay Point Ranger didn't win the other night and he faded out of contention. But by God, he showed some pace into the corner after a sort of a moderate enough start. He's on his inside. Lemon Herbie went up strongly the other night, can go up well. So it's just not straightforward, and especially given the fact he's out in trap five. But lots to like about him. Lemon Joey, I have no doubt we could be standing here on Laurel's semi-final night going, Lemon Joey, he'll be trying to sneak through again on the outside and can easily get there. He's one of those dogs. He finds a way to get involved. You know what I mean? He finds a way to get involved in the frame. And Moorstone Brett back in third spot. We'll move on to Heat 8. This went the way of Ballymac Satanta. We won't have to talk about him too much, Barry. But again, he was so impressive in terms of the clock and the manner in which he did it. And yet, there's room for improvement. And that's, I suppose, the scary thing for his potential rivals.
Yeah, definitely. Tommy obviously was kind of full of confidence on this dog as well. Prior to the off, I was talking to him there in the stand. But in terms of look, he's got kind of scary speed to clock. 27.94 after a start like that. As you said, much more to come. But it'll be interesting to see how he can develop with his starting, because he's definitely going to have to break quicker, because we've so many fast starters in the competition. So it's going to be interesting over the course of the next couple of weeks. Have to give a special mention as well to Born to Perform, who's really, really caught my eye in recent weeks. Of course, I had ran a couple of races over 525 around Cork before the step up and trip on Derby final night. It's obviously not its ideal trip or probably track, but it's a greyhound I can see keep progressing, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up in the final. Shanahy Boomer, of course, back in third. Hopefully better to come from that greyhound, of course, after local trainer Karen Lynch. But it was all about Ballymax and Hanta up front.
Yeah, the truth be known, we're Born to Perform. Whatever she does, it's all just going to lead up to her winning at the Winter Racing Festival, beating probably the best stayers around, maybe potentially one or two from England, and we'll all be scratching our heads going, God, how were we not on at bigger prices and whatnot on various nights. Ballymax very impressive. Born to Form a second. Shanahy Boomer. I wonder, just the Derby campaign. I'd say there is better to come from him. But the one thing I want to say about Satanta as opposed to Brandon, I think where the difference between the pair is down the back. I think Satanta probably went down the back straight as hard as any dog in the first round of the Laurels, or is ever likely to go down the back straight in the Laurels, because he ran away from Shanahy Boomer, and I'd say that's at the moment where his clocks are coming from. I, like you, wouldn't be surprised if he improved his starting and went up that bit faster. The 135, 142, and 136 in Limerick, he should be doing faster than that. There's no question about it. But the fact that he still managed to do 28.30, 28.35, and 28.37 tells you exactly what's happening after that. He is showing all sorts of pace down the back straight, and he's staying on really well. Just looks an all-round solid greyhound. And the fact that he's had those 10 races now, just things could start to click as regards the early speed department. He's been at 3 or 4 different tracks at this stage, 2 or 3 runs around Curraheen, getting used to those boxes. You never know what might happen. Would it be surprised to any of us if he does a 3:23 in the final or the semi-finals? Certainly wouldn't be surprised to me.
It'd be surprised to me if he smashed the track record. Absolutely no, not at all. I tell you what, have a look at the race again when you get a chance. Whoever's watching this or listening to this, have a look at the race again, and figure out how this greyhound tracked the first 2 bends at the pace he was going. There's the dog outside him, Shanahy Boomer, who's given him no space. The Shanahy Boomer's run this perfect line, ideal, getting around. For a dog that's drawn out in 5, he's running the kind of middle to inside line around the bend because there's nothing inside him. And then Ballymax Atanta comes through with this. How he raced, and it's possible that Ballymax Atanta had to check ever so slightly his run, slow his run slightly just to get into that gap and get around that bend. And if he did, that's frightening. If he didn't, it's similarly frightening, but in a different way, that a dog was able to be accelerating the way he was. And I don't use the term explosive lightly, but using explosive early pace or pace into the bend to get around that cleanly. Just look at those first 2 bends again. That is proper greyhound racing.
Yeah, he's definitely a greyhound that could do a 27.70. There's no question.
Doing his sleep.
Yeah. It's just not that easy to do it. But yeah, you know what I mean?
He do it a trial for fun, but because of his explosive, if he breaks some night, I'd love to see what he can do. And you'd like to see it next week, because you wouldn't, because you don't want to do that time next week. You want to do it in the quarter for semi-final or the final. But I'm saying, these are the opportunities. These early rounds are the real opportunities to get clear early, especially if you're not going to be breaking brilliantly. But the funny thing is, we say his sectional is poor. He did 3:28. I'd swear after 4 strides, he's last.
No question. No question.
He's last.
That's not even up for debate. Yeah.
How did he do 3:28?
Yeah.
Maybe it's 3:38. Is it Barry? Sorry, 3:38.
Yeah,
maybe
3:38. I think.
38. Thinking even that, I said to somebody the other day, say he could do 3:20 one night and he can do 3:50 the next night. You don't know. But that might be very harsh on the greyhound. We're talking about a dog that's entirely unexposed, and maybe he can do it every single week. He can win every week over 5.25. Maybe he is an absolute machine. He definitely has that potential. He's a huge, huge, huge addition to this competition.
No question. Heat 9, Price's Romeo. he's a middle seed, but like is it immaterial whether you're a middle or an ins or a wide seed? Like this fella wants to be out there, no question about it. Funny enough, when he first appeared in Shelburne with a seeding on it, I was questioning it, and he just skipped around the outside of dogs, much like he did here, and kept a really true line. He is a really strong running greyhound. Price is jet, price is opera. Like it's in the breeding, but a really really fine display by this fellow. He's helped greatly by Solo and Go. Obviously, Barry just edging inwards into that opening corner. Solo and Go desperately unlucky not to get around in front. There's no question about it. And I agree with Tommy. There's much better to come from this dog. I think he is quite trappy. I wouldn't be too worried about his trapping going forward. He will generally out trap or trap with most dogs. But I thought Process Romeo was a fine, and he's a fine addition to the stake. And just given Paul Hennessy's record in this competition, no surprise to see this fellow in the latter stages.
No, definitely not. And just in terms of Solo and Go, I thought that showed phenomenal speed down the back straight as well. Of course, it was put in at 14-1 by the sponsors, Bear One Race, and so it did come in for significant support. I would imagine to be back down into 7-1 before the start of the first round on Saturday night. But I suppose once Priceless Romeo hit the front early, it was just going to be a matter of how far. We all know how strong he is, and Paul Hennessy winner down in Cork is always a popular winner. But I have to give a special mention as well to Ballycown Archie, who thought ran a great race in second, only after a couple of races as well. Of course, he's a member of this, I suppose, high-profile litter now at this stage. Ballymac Cash Out and Pecky's Flyer. I think a litter brother won down in Limerick as well at the weekend in an A3 stake, 28-30 odd. Of course, it's Pecky's Flyer produced the Juvenile Derby winner as well. And Strike at Sky, I think it was the new favourite now for the Oaks in England after the weekend's proceedings. So, yeah, great performance. Of course, brilliant trained by Dean Harper, who's another man that puts a lot of money into the game, and great to see him reaping the rewards in recent times.
Yeah, Strike at Sky, very strong runner. The Get Out the Boy dog, obviously he's big down the back and strong himself. This Ballycown Archie, it'll be interesting to see what he develops into, which I suspect he'll be very similar to his comrades in a sense where you wouldn't be expecting to flash out and lead all. He'll be doing plenty of work from the second bend, but big task throwing him in at such a lightly raced stage in his career. Tommy Price's Romeo, great draw on the outside, made the most of it, and he's going to have his draw most nights.
He's going to draw most nights. Yeah, it's not exactly where you want to be in Curraheen Park unless you're doing something special from the outside. But this was over early. Once Solo and Go edged in and stumbled because of a bump, the race was over. Still impressed with Solo and Go trying to get to the bend in front, and then seemed to get slightly clipped from behind. Actually, maybe at the first bend. Anyway, it was immaterial. Ran very well to qualify. But Priceless Romeo, it was 28-17 too. Let's not
Yeah,
overlook that. It was a
yeah.
terrific run.
And it
And
was
I,
off.
and I spoke
And
to Paul.
it was off a 16-18. Like tells you he's really
Yeah,
running. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, exactly. And I spoke to Paul afterwards, and he was delighted with the run. He was also still bouncing about Barefoot and Song. Why wouldn't he be?
yeah. Absolutely. We'll move on to Heat 10 and Silver Hill Freya. She popped out. She led early. She did everything in her power to contain Fate Point Ranger into the corner. She needed to because he was absolutely motoring into the bend. He's still not back to where he was, but there are glimpses. There are glimpses with him. But Silver Hill Freya got to the front, and once doing so, that was it. You weren't going to pick her up. She's very strong. She's very versatile. She's just a really, really, really talented bitch. Obviously, she has a good record at Curraheen Barry. She did everything that you'd want her to do.
Yeah, that's it. Look, she's been a tremendous lady, obviously, for all at Riverside Kennels, of course, and winning that recent Emperor Stakes across in Toaster, no stranger to success around Curraheen Park as well. Obviously not at her very best on Saturday night, 28:55. She's gone much quicker. But look, she still got the job done, and we know she's capable of going much quicker going forward. Her Rocco made it exciting late on. A local campaigner, of course, trained by Jerome Crowley, was the outsider of the party with form over further. Absolutely powered home to make it interesting enough late on. But yeah, Silver Hill Freya got the job done at short odds.
Yeah, Hurler Rocco, very strong, Tommy. No surprise to see him running on strongly, but Silver Hill Freya always sort of looked comfortable, like it's a neck, but you never felt she was going to get picked up.
No, he probably didn't. He probably don't think he made like having the performance was the clock. But there's probably a good enough reason for that. She probably had a reasonably light time since she came back. I did a wild shot, massive pace, and went to challenge it on the inside just approaching the fourth bend, and got forced to check and then got clipped from behind and went down, and still very much a work in progress. Dog that'll probably appreciate a few months off and come back next year, and we might see a different dog. We've talked about him at length. Fay Point Ranger showed loads of pace, loads of pace. Only concern, of course, is that the time was moderate, and when he put his nose in front of the fourth bend, you're thinking, if it's 1 in 28.15, fine. If it's 1 in 28.55, he should probably be thereabouts.
Yeah, he fades out of contention. He just hasn't. There have been issues clearly going back to his Kirby success. He had a break after that and just never really came back. Same Greyhound. We'll move on to the final heat. And Barry, we sort of spoke about this fellow briefly beforehand, off camera. Sirius Alpha. He's got a serious record. Now 8 from 11. Just his just that Kieran Lynch stamp on him. He's just that type of dog, you know. You know what he's going to do. He's going to pop out. He's going to show good early. He's going to get to the front, and by God, he's going to be hard to pass.
Yeah, definitely. Look, he's a greyhound, of course, who kind of, even before he won his A3, was carrying kind of a big reputation. There was plenty of talk about him. He's owned by a couple of lads down in East Cork, and in fairness, any night he runs, they bring a large crowd to the track, which is, always great to see. He won the A1 Casco Derby. I expected him to win that, even though there was a couple of, super greyhounds in the competition. And I think it's when he posted 17:28 in a race around Corraheen Park over 330 yards. It was one of the quickest times in a race in the last 7 or 8 years. Really suggested that, big things were to come. He ran in the a £2,000 one-off race in Corraheen Park recently, and I thought it was a really, really hotly contested event, and I kind of writ him off. I didn't put him in the first 3 in the form guide, and I got a few digs about that, but he went out and got the job done.
We've all been there, Barry. We've all
exactly.
been
there. And after that, I think I really put him up a notch or two. And I thought on Saturday night it was just a top-class performance. You had a couple of real fancy runners in the race, Sword Style, Droopy's Deploy, Prince Nazim. But he's a greyhound that can do it out of any trap. He's got sterling early speed, and he stayed on stronger than ever on Saturday night. Obviously, Lynch would have been thinking about the Laurels with a couple of months with this greyhound. So look, I was delighted he got the job done. It was a great end to proceedings on Saturday night. And I wouldn't be surprised if he went all the way to the final if he got a bit of luck along the way.
Yeah, he's a nice stamp of a dog. He's 78 pounds. He's quite a tall 78 pounds. I'll be honest. My fear would be if there was dogs up his inside and taking a bump or two. But given the early speed he's shown, he may well be in front most nights. Sword Style ran out of real estate in the inside. He got a bit tight. Himself and Tetra Destiny clashed, and Sirius Alpha was gone. Prince Nassim went from being about 5th to 2nd in a matter of about 15 strides. So left 2nd early in the back straight, and Droopy's Deploy ran on really strongly back in 3rd. Talented greyhound. It was a good end to proceedings. Tommy, a good winner.
Yeah, best thing about it, to be honest about it, was the determination to get around the first bend in front. Tetra Destiny was inside, and he had to battle for that position. And sometimes we're talking about dogs that we say are all about, real early pace. They think that any bit of setback would be enough to get them beaten. No, real determination. You said it had the stamp of Kieran Lynch dog. I think that's actually, I hadn't thought about that, but I think that's a pretty fair comment. You'd like it. I don't think he's going to win the Laurels, but I tell you what, it's not impossible because he has the early pace and he's light enough race to improve again. Now he's going to be taking on Derby.
He's not very dissimilar. He's not very similar to Rocky Bay Foley. Like he's not in terms of his racing style, the way he moves, the way he just carries himself.
Now Rocky Bay Foley was capable of making a mistake in qualifying. Yeah. That's where we'll find out what Sirius Alpha is capable of doing. If he's led around or gets a bit of bump at the first bend, there's plenty of early dash in this competition, and he's going to find tougher tasks. But I loved the attitude. Particularly at the first bend.
Yeah. That was the opening round of the Bar 1 Racing Irish Laurels. We're going to let Barry go because some of us have to work. Myself and Tommy, we're obviously just here shooting the breeze, so we'll continue for a few more minutes. But Barry, thanks as always. I'm sure we might see you again before the end of the Laurels.
Yeah, definitely. And just I suppose in terms of the second round, very much looking forward to it next Saturday night. Ian. It was great to see even, maybe familiar faces that we hadn't seen at the track, from different parts of the country that came down on Saturday night, and that really adds to the occasion. So yeah, look, we had it all in the first round, and super excited about Saturday's second round, and yeah, we'll chat again soon, no doubt.
Good man, Barry. Keep up the good work, and of course, you'll be doing the podcast this week. I would suggest there may well be a slight Laurels theme to it, although you do tend to venture all around the country.
Yeah, look, we'll wait now till Thursday. But yeah, we have a couple of things lined up, so I'll be making contact with a couple of people today to see who's available. Yeah, and as always, look, we like to have a big variety, and give loads of different tracks. Their bit of mention and stuff like that. So yeah, great stuff.
Good man, Barry. Listen, off you go.
Thank you.
Good luck, lad. Tommy, we might as well just have our final thoughts on the Bar One Racing ourselves. It's basically been touched upon, but as you've said, I must say when I first saw the entry, I was going, oh, and I knew there was dogs that would develop and whatnot. I've definitely had a bit of a rethink. I think it's competitive. I think it's very competitive, and I sense there could be something bubbling under the surface with a few of these, and we could yet have a really, really top class winner.
Well, I've often been very negative about it because, yeah, like I said, I said to somebody the other night, there's a time you could win a Laurels with an A2 dog. You know what I mean? Because sometimes they just seem to skip it or whatever, and it's a crying shame when that happens. That Greyhounds don't see this as a great competition to go to. It's amazing because if you talk to anybody, any trainer that's within 70 miles of the track, to come there to trial because they know how well maintained it is. They know how well the track is kept, and the surface is going to be good. The track is always going, traps are going to be consistent. Everything about it is right. So why not come here for a £30,000 competition? And I
Yeah.
know it's down to calendar and all that sort of stuff. But we talked about this. We think the calendar is getting better every year, and it's pretty damn close to where it needs to be in terms of how it sets you through it. So I think I looked at it actually. I looked at it and I was really pleasantly surprised. More than that, I thought it was a very good Laurels. I thought there were 10 or 12 dogs that you could say they're really good dogs and they can win a Laurels, and that'll be good
Well, if you
Laurels.
look if you look at the initial betting, it was
Yeah.
effectively 12 to 1 the field. Like I know there was serious money came in for so long ago, but I was more of the feeling that it was a 12 to 1 the field race than a 7 to 1 chance and then a few 12 to 1 chance. Like I was sort of nearly 12 to 1 about five dogs.
And that's not entirely unfair either because like it's a different track and people don't know it that well. Some people don't know it that well, and um, there's I think it's attracted a proper field. I really do, and it's got what we need, whether they win it or not. Whether Satanta or Solo and Go would be a great result, obviously, for connections and as well as he's potentially a serious dog. There's loads of Drew's Patriot is a proper greyhound. You've got dogs there that have been running the heart out. All you check for cash. All these dogs have been running the heart out. Check for cash. I mightn't have him down as a potential Laurels winner. I tell you what, if you won it, wouldn't you celebrate and say, geez, Carl Ramsbottom has done some job with the dog? Because he has done it, regardless of how he runs in the Laurels. He's done some job with a dog like that. And he's coming down here. It's sharper than what he's been running over recently, and he's going to struggle with that as far as I'm concerned. But he's the type of dog that lifts the overall standard of the competition by being involved in it. Lemon Joey's another dog, similar dog that's been to the latter stages of the competitions, won a major competition, Fay Point Ranger. And then you've got that X Factor. You got the Satanta and the Ballymac Brandons of this world. You got the other Mel. I think it's. I really liked it from the start. I was surprised. I was chatting to a lad there on Saturday night. We're saying, okay, yeah, maybe you can take the first 8 or 10 and say, you can look a little bit beyond that and go, well, they're a million to win a Laurels. But if you have 8 or 10, that's pretty good. I don't know if I found 8 or 10 to start of the Derby that could win the Derby.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know,
Um, yeah, it's tight. It's tight, no question about it. And of course, all roads lead to October 11th, or November 11th, should I say, for the final of the Bar One Racing Irish Laurels. Again, Bar One involved. Great to see them there. And obviously with them being bookmakers, they are offering prices. So check it out, and they're not afraid to lay a bet as regards certainly their own classic going forward. So keep in mind, Tommy, what's
Would like
your?
to see you would like to see those prices put up online. I couldn't find them the other day if they're on
Yeah,
their website. I couldn't.
I think they've changed their website, and I think it just gets lost. I've asked them to forward on the prices, and we'll post them. I'm sure on Talking Dogs. It'll be Barry Drake posting them, but they will go up there. It's just a case of I think they should
Just
be up
make it
there.
make them prominent.
Yeah, make them prominent. What if you had to pick one now? What would it be?
It will all, you know what I'm like. It will all be based on price. It will all
Yeah,
be based on price. I don't know. I mean, say I'm like I was against Solo and Go at the 7-1 price. I'm not averse to the idea that he can win the Laurels. He definitely can. Um, so like it'll all be dependent on pricing. But I came away. I actually really enjoyed it. Two of my lads came with me, and a pal of Dylan's came with us the other night, and just enjoyed the night. And it was really good racing. So hopefully the rest of the competition will be similar.
yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope. Let's skip on to Shelburne Park on Saturday night. We saw a tremendous winner of the Ballymac Patriot at Stud ON1 Bitch 525. It's a long old race name, but good Katie. There was nothing slow about her. She is potentially very, very talented indeed, but so too is the runner-up, Ballymac Gwenny, and even a couple of the others involved, Geltonus Grace, Ballymac Chantry, Cosmic View. They're all very fast. I think they can all turn into decent types. But this good Katie, Tommy, hard not to be impressed by her. She's out of Hugh Dreams, so the previous litter would have had the likes of Boyle Sports. Well, I'm not even sure what the previous litter, but a litter of hers had the likes of Boyle Sports, Blue, and some pacey types, Delicate Lass. So they're a very strong running litter, her previous litter. But this good Katie is all about early speed.
Yeah, and look, she was a couple of lengths clear out of the second bend, and she probably would have been 4 lengths clear had she not got a couple of bumps early and that sort of stuff that just held her up. But the runner up ran some races as well. It was kind of it was to be beaten only ahead, having I suppose done things kind of strangely out of traps. Did it just seem to come out wide, or was it more inclined to kind of like I mean. I don't know. It's just maybe probably. I don't know. I hadn't been following the competition closely, but had Ballymac Granny, has she kind of been slow away? Is that her MO? Is
She's
that what
very
she is?
strong. Now, in the semi-finals, she took a flyer, and the main worries to her in the semi-finals sort of got in each other's way early, so she happened to lead around, and then she holds her position to third bend and just kicks on again. So we knew she was going to finish like a train again. The same could be said for her kennel companion Ballymac Chantry. She's very, very strong as well. So it was no surprise to see Gwenny finishing like she did. She's definitely one that'll probably want a little bit further, but she's very quick.
I had thought there for a short while, maybe through the early part of this year, maybe late last year, early part of this year, that the Ballymac dogs, the Liam Dowling and the team were struggling to find the next generation. By God, they found them now.
Yeah,
they have the last few months have changed my mind on that. Let me tell you,
yeah. The last few days.
few days.
It is
Yeah.
worth pointing out that Cosmic View is a sister to Good Katie. She got balked in the opening corner. She was the 7-1 outsider of the field. Don't sleep with this one. She can run. This Cosmic View. She finished last of the five, but she can run. It just hasn't quite happened for her yet, but have no fear. There's plenty of pace in her. There were some great runs on the undercard. There was a 28-20 from Phoenix Memphis, and the last race in the card was won by Exclusion Order, who had shown loads of pace and promise the previous night, despite finishing down the field, to do enough to ruin the Duppies Deploy's chances. So it was no surprise to see him going quick 28-12 to round off proceedings. But we have to go back then to the opening round of the Yvonne Barry Track Bookmaker 600. Some really top class greyhounds in it, and a couple of shocks, no question about it. Magical Major, just things went completely wrong from that opening heat. He finished the distance back. We really hope that he'll be back on the mend and fine in the very near future. He did finish the race, just albeit a long way behind, did loads of things wrong, and probably the creator of his own downfall. But there was nothing lucky about the success of Dashing Toro. Tommy, this is a greyhound that obviously really did make a few waves early in his career. He went very close in the Lee Strand. He finished, or it was the, yeah, did he win the Lee
At
Strand?
least he was
He won the
he
Lee
was in
Strand,
least
beating
yeah, last year.
beating a certain cheap sandwiches in the Lee Strand. In behind him that night, another future classic winner, Unanimous Panther, Deadly Choice, who ended up being a really top class stare across the water, and then went very close as a raw sort of youngster behind Coulivanny Otto in the Race of Champions, and then sort of his card sort of not fell apart, but like he didn't win another race. He didn't win another race in 2024. Like it's only this year that he's starting to show some real signs of come back to himself. He's won over 750 yards, like 41.55 or 750 around Limerick. But this the other night at Shelbourne Park was right up there with potentially one of the best runs of his card. And now trained by Deirdre Barry. Deirdre, listen, Deirdre's a great character. She's great, but I'll tell you one thing: people that have used Deirdre in the past more to rear dogs have said that she does a wonderful, wonderful job. But I'll tell you something, if she keeps training dogs like this fella to win as he did the other night, she'll be making a name for herself as a real racing trainer. She always trained a few, but this is without question one of the best she's ever had. And if she keep him ticking over like this, he's a big player in major competitions. Like whether he wins this or not, I don't know. He certainly has a chance. Yeah, you could see him rocking up at the Winter Racing Festival. You could see him run over 750 yards. You can see him running over 525 yards. He's just a really versatile tracker. But the other night, mighty impressive. You look at the names behind him, Tommy. Hussein Pickles, the Laddie Da, Lenny's Madge, Magic
Ran
Maid.
very well.
Remarkable run.
Hussein Pickles ran very well, actually. Dashing Toro was brilliant, and I just there are gaps in his career, and we've talked about this in the past. There's just been obviously been issues, and he's been difficult to get right. Because I remember him coming out of the Lee Strand, and the talk about him was like a derby dog, a proper, and he
Yeah.
was clocking this and he was clocking that, and he was like sensational ability, and he has it, and I was there the other night because, like you said, there was no fluke about it. He was in command in a top race. Okay, Magic and Major, you can kind of forget his run and whatever, and just hope he's all right. Um, but like you still had the laddie die in it, one of the greatest greyhounds we've had for years, one of the most consistent at like the most ridiculous high level. You have Kusain Pickers, who's a brilliant bitch at her best and ran a super race in defeat the other night. But Dashing Toro was in command. If you didn't tell me the names of the greyhounds and you just showed me the race, I'd say, well, that dog is different league. Like there's no fluke about it.
No, nothing. Absolutely zero. It was just brilliant. Off the bunny.
And
Lovely, God bless.
well, do you know what? And maybe sometimes you need a change. Sometimes the dog need different attention. Maybe he needs this. It's going to be difficult. Let's be honest about it. The connections to have him beforehand are extremely capable. Not that everything wouldn't have been tried to try get this dog absolutely, showing the best of his ability. But my God, like even his trialing in Curryheen Park. I know I said a minute ago, well, dogs do a 28 or 9. Like I wouldn't have had him down as a sharp 525 dog. So, but no, the dogs
But,
stay
but look, but look
stay well.
down through, but look down through his card. Like he has a
Yeah,
1746 trial, in Cork in
yeah,
March. Does a 2797 trial in Cork. Then he does a 2931 spin around Tralee. Like that's lightning fast. You know what I mean? He's a
yeah,
41.55 for 750 yards, and now he's got it close to 32 seconds for 600. He just seems to have any amount of ability.
yeah, like dogs that have that, like even dogs that stay well and are renowned as stayers, they'll do fast trials
Of
because they
course.
have they have insane ability when they have a bit of a run in it, and he's one of those. And it's just a shame for his sake. And look at thousands of dogs down through the years, tens of thousands of dogs who've been the same, who haven't been able to, for one reason or another, haven't been able to show it on a regular basis. But I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him follow up next week and do something similar and do a quicker time and everything and be the dog that he promised to be. And as I say, it's nothing to do with connections. It's just, he just needed, something needed to click for him. And maybe he's for the first time in his career, he's fully right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then I say, that's not down to Deirdre Barry. It really is. It's down to a lot of people involved in the Greyhound over the years, minding
It's
them and
it's
doing the
down to
best they
people
can.
having it's down to people having patience.
It's down to people. They've looked after him well. Even the previous connection looked after him well, and they gave him the breaks when he needed the breaks, and they tried it. And sometimes it just won't work. You see it a million times. A horse will change a stable or whatever else, and then all of a sudden it'll find a bit of form for a while. It can just rejuvenate them a little bit, gives them a little bit of kick, to kind of to impetus and whatever else. Like there's no way of writing down this will work. Send them off. This will work because a million times you get sent to a different stable or a different kennel and it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
it's down to luck and patience of the people who looked after him right throughout his career. He is, like I say, they were talking. You said that the talk about him at one stage was immense. It really was. Like they thought this dog could win a derby. So it's a shame he's not. So that's why I was glad to see that performance. You're right. It was really it was exceptionally good.
Yeah, very good. He wasn't even fastest. Balnabola Joe
No,
went fastest, and the key to this fella's success, Tommy, was I keep telling you, he's been standing up at boxes. He timed it the other night, and he was standing right nearly to the last, very last, and then he went down, and it was just the perfect time, and he came away on terms, and that's all this fellow needs to do. Because the long run to the corner, he just blew holes in them. Now, it wasn't a contest where there was a massive amount of early speed or anything like it. What impressed me most was the fact that he went to the line. I was unsure about 600 yards for him, but much like his close relation, Balnabola Ed, he did relish the sort of the bit of freedom out front and just went on about it.
Yeah, well, like there's decent dogs and decent stairs behind him and all that, and he took. You know what? He tracked the great racing line once he was in front, and he
Yeah,
broke out of it. He tracked the great racing line, and that's how you're going to do good times, and you're going to do things right, and you're going to be able to get to the line if you track a good line, and he did. I thought he was very, very good. I mean, the clock said at 32:08. Um, yeah, nothing more to be said because well, as you said, he probably broke maybe a head or a neck in front. That was good night. Magical Sapphire missed the kick and switched a little bit wide and then showed a bit of pace into the bend and whatever else, but there was no space to run. No, it just wasn't Magical Sapphire fully.
yeah. No, Balnabola Joe, if he keeps trapping like that, like he probably is the dog to beat because he's going to be in front. That's the long and the short of it. What section he did? He's only a he's 599. Dashing Toro does a 591. So, he'll need to be trapping. No question about it. Move on to the
Wouldn't like to
third.
see him try to track by him now. I wouldn't like to see him try to track by Dashing Toro if he
No,
gives him a
no,
length
definitely
onto
not.
the bend.
Definitely not. On to Heat 3 of the Yvonne Barry Track Bookmaker Open 600. And this went the way of Borna Show. Again, I wasn't there. I was watching back the video and going, oh, the result is wrong. And he's still fifth at the third bend. And he's still a bad third off the last bend. And he gets there. Like, he absolutely hammered home.
Flew home, and even at the first bend, you think he's going to get in all sorts of trouble. And somehow in those last few yards into the first bend, just managed to get up into a clear fifth place. And after that, a nice bit of pace down third bend, you're still thinking, still a lot to be done. He's going to have to track left, right. You don't know what it's going to have to do. I was watching the same as you, going, this can't be right. And it flew and even tracked up the inside going to the line and the whole lot. And even 25 yards from the line, I was doubtful that I was going to get there, I'll be honest about it. It
Yeah.
was a,
No,
it was,
massive.
you know what it was? It was good old fashioned 600 running.
Absolutely. Like, that's the one expression that came into me. That was a real old-fashioned stare. A real dog that wants the 600-yard test, absolutely
I
relished the
don't,
long run home.
I don't want to run down the prefix because it'll sound like I'm not, but it's the exact opposite. But it's a real Borna run. I have memories of loads of really good stay in Borna dogs, and they just
Well, we're
fly.
we're of an ilk that we remember born a
Yeah,
pilot. Born a pilot.
yeah. Oh, Borna
Yeah.
Pilot. Borna Pilot had a little brother who ran in a little brother, little sister maybe, who ran in the Puppy Derby at the same time. I'd say that. Did they run the Puppy Derby? I'm sure they did.
I'll tell you. Born a pilot
In
was.
Harold's Cross, I'd say. Yeah, I remember these Barnes. Like to me, the Barnes. You think of them used to come to Shelburne Park. You'd say this one's going to stay now, and inevitably it was a 575 or a 600 or a 750, and they were absolute rockets.
Yeah, did a few
Yeah,
good
so it's
go
not
for
running it
100.
down.
Now,
Trust me on
there
that.
was a
It's not
certain
running
Born
it down.
survivor. How was she bred?
Yeah.
We move on. No surprise
Mm,
to see Born a show though with winning form over six bends,
yeah.
and in the future it'll be no surprise if Rallying Mac has winning form over six bends because this fellow I was a bit of a fan of him anyway. I'd seen him in a couple of races around Shelburne Park over 525 yards coming from out of the clouds. He had then gone back down to Limerick and he'd won a 600 down there. But returned to Shelburne Park recently, October 4th, came from lengths back to beat Snowy April and Ayal in 32:38. It was rated 10 fast that night, so like it's down as a third. But the fact that he had done an 18:52 trial at Limerick would prior to that would tell you that he was ready to run. Well, he came from lengths off the pace to win that night, but this was another step up in grade. He's 10-1 the other evening. He's last to the opening corner and he's out of it. Like in front of him, Ballyhooly Bruno, Ballymactobeth, Sunshine Sue, Luck and Lep. Like, he's no chance. And all of a sudden, he just starts the motor from halfway. And the running he did from the third bend to the line was phenomenal. Like this, if this fellow doesn't say six bends, I'd be amazed. Now, as it is, they won't have to put him over six bends if he keeps running like this over 600. But it was a remarkable run.
And there was nothing between first and last in this race. You could throw a
Yeah.
blanket over the whole lot of them. Like even Flight Club was only beaten what four and a bit lengths, less than
Yeah,
four and a
four and a
half
half
lengths. Like,
respectively. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And Ballymac to best with in it, like you said, looking at Ballyhooly Bruno, who stays and uh, stays strongly over 500, 525, 550 has been a really good dog for Tom. Um, this is a bit like the Borna show. You had to watch all the way to the line to make sure it won
yeah.
because it's still last. Now I know it's only by about a head or a neck. It still last a halfway, and then even had to check about. Now the beauty of the 600 is that second win in line because still when you're watching racing, you can understand why the cameraman might get it wrong the odd time. When you're watching race, you're kind of thinking, oh, the line's coming up now very soon. We want to do something. I'd say at the old winning line, it had to switch outside the Ford. Was the Balmain had to switch outside it, yeah, and fly home in the last 25 yards to get up and get up by half a length in the end. It's
Yeah.
that like we had classy performances and real old school racing in that competition. In that, so good to see a good mix.
Yeah, no, good mix. And it's good competition. Obviously that'll
Yeah, it is
continue at Shelton
always.
Park on Saturday night. We're getting into the serious stuff again. Like the derby's just over and there's no room for it. Like there's no room. Like it's just busy, busy, busy. With good racing obviously in Shelburne, but the real feature is the Laurels, which continues at Curryheen Park on Saturday night. Anything else to add before we go, Tom?
No, I just sad to say I actually really enjoyed it. I don't get a chance with all that's going on. I'll be fairly free in a couple of months' time when I'm looking for a job. But but the moment with all that's going on with kids and with work and with everything, you don't get a chance to go to Curryheen Park very often. So my weekends, like I have an average of about 7 matches a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, but for the four kids.
But you didn't
And
have to have four kids, Tommy. No, you do know that.
well, you find your niche, you find your niche. But it's but you know what Ted Walsh used to always say, it's great fun making them, but like but like then it's all the hard work comes afterwards. Like so, yeah, I'm realizing that now. Although the eldest is driving now himself, so that's not too bad. That's a start. That's
Yeah,
progress to
you're showing
the
your age
next
now, Tommy.
phase.
That's the problem. You're showing your age.
Yeah.
Right, a pleasure as always. Thanks, Tommy Lyons. Of course, Barry Drake was with us earlier on, and not a mention of y'all. Barry was he was off his game, but there was mention of a good few local runners and whatnot. It is Laurel's time, the Derby of the South. Well done to Barwon Racing for sponsoring yet another vintage renewal of the Laurels. We look forward to how it will unfold over the coming weeks, and don't forget, you'll keep up to date with it here on Talking Dogs on a Monday. Once again, my thanks to the Exile One and of course to Barry Drake. We'll see you next week. Good luck, good evening, God bless.